at their job, but there is an optionality that they might have to use the position that they hold in society to be able to deliver a message. This year you made the example of actors and actresses. So the same could apply to a sportsman. Just because someone's good at soccer doesn't mean that they have to have an influence over society from a specific standpoint.
Keeping you on the know and on the live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time.
It is 14:14 Central African Time. It is a beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Africa at Play. We are together until 5 p.m. Central African Time. If you have just joined us, thank you for taking the awesome decision ever, choosing Africa's number one. This is Africa at Play. July is a big month, not just in South Africa, but globally, as the world continues to celebrate the world iconic and former South African President Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. And Madiba was very big in sport as a former boxer and a famous quote where he said, "Sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does." Close quote. That's Madiba for you, and we will continue to celebrate him, although the most biggest day is the 18th of July, which is still coming up next week, Friday, and we will continue to celebrate him on Saturday and Sunday, the 19th of July, when Africa at Play comes back. SABC Sport brings you Chasing the Sun, a powerful 5-part documentary series about the Springboks, telling the rousing tale of their path to redemption and the ultimate World Cup glory in 2019. Starting on the 13th of July at 19:30 Central African Time on SABC2. Tune in every Sunday for the highs, the heartache, and the heroics that made rugby history. Stream each chapter on SABC Plus, anytime, anywhere, no subscription needed. Don't miss Chasing the Sun this Sunday at 19:30 Central African Time on SABC2. Be there when history shines. There is a concern about the ongoing Women's Africa Cup of Nations by Team Africa at Play, where we have witnessed that is not exhilarating at all. There's very few fans on the stands as the tournament continues in North Africa, and we're asking the big question, why is it that this WAFCON is not getting the necessary support that it deserves? It is the best outfits on the African continent in women's football. They were supposed to be supported. You can share your thoughts with us via a WhatsApp voice note on the number +27 63 406 9126. Let's now go to Lusaka, Zambia, where our correspondent Namuchana is standing by with the football pundits to dissect this topic. This is Africa at Play. Asteleli Siashaya. Thank you for listening.
The Women's African Cup of Nations WAFCON Morocco 2024, currently underway, has been in action with very few fans at the stadiums, indicating the tournament has received less support of football spectators. And today we're asking what could be the reasons behind this poor attendance by soccer fans at this year's WAFCON in Morocco. I have with me Mr. Neto Chemane, former Football Association of Zambia spokesman. Mr. Chemane, thank you so much for having taken time to talk to Channel Africa. Mr. Chemane, we are watching WAFCON that is currently on in Morocco. One disturbing issue that is coming out from Morocco is the poor attendance by soccer fans who are failing to go and watch these games that are ongoing in Morocco. What could be the reasons behind this poor attendance by soccer fans, Mr. Chemane?
We've always known Morocco to be a footballing nation. You remember 2015, they were supposed to actually host the AFCON until they changed their minds for fear of Ebola. So, and they've invested so much in football, but it is disappointing to see even the opening match where we played against them as Polo Copper Queens. The stadium was not full to capacity. One wonders, has there been very little publicity, or is it because the teams, their women teams, are not attracting enough interest? I really cannot pinpoint on something, but I'll tell you that this tournament just shows you that women football, especially in Africa and in certain countries, still has a very, very long way to go. People are not yet convinced. On the other hand, you may realize that countries that have not done perhaps very well in terms of men's football, and then they suddenly find that their women football teams are doing well, they are flocking more to the stadiums in the other case. So for Morocco, maybe they've been doing well as the men's team. I think for the World Cup, they look like they're headed there. And for the Africa Cup, they look like they're headed there. So maybe that could be one of the reasons. And maybe the publicity has not been there. Or maybe there are restrictions to go into Morocco. Because I noticed usually Ghana, Nigeria, these West African countries always have a battalion of supporters at any tournament anywhere in the world. But I've also wondered why it is like that in Morocco.
Mr. Nkweto, thank you so much for having taken time to talk to us. That was Mr. Nkweto Tembwe, former Football Association of Zambia spokesman, talking to us on Channel Africa. We also got the views of Wezi Mazunda, sports analyst.
It wasn't well marketed and promoted, and it's also probably because of the cultural aspect. With women football, not everybody can embrace it the same way, depending on whichever region it's coming from. But I think they lack aggressive promotion of the tournament. It needed time. I mean, they hosted the 2022 WAFCON. So obviously, lessons learned from there, they should have beefed them up, found out what the challenges were then and what the challenges are now. But generally, in most competitions, it's usually like that, especially junior competitions for men, mostly international, because they're the ones who have under 17, under 20, and women's. Usually the ones that get to attract most the supporters is the men's team, as in the senior men's team. And we all know why. They have stars coming from Europe and everything. The marketing strategies are there. But I think strategies were just not there. Maybe the organizers didn't sit down, to find out ways and means of bringing people. Let's sell the women's game. The women's game is gold. I mean, where you have two of the most expensive players in the world coming from Africa, that's huge. It's not easy. So market it around them. Just find ways and means to make it interesting. Women football is usually a family thing. It's a family affair. If you look at men's football, women go to the stadium because when their men are going, we want to go and support our men. When they go to a stadium, we go with them to support and the like. And maybe if crowds become unruly, you obviously have to be security cautious for the kids and stuff. The men's game is a little bit, can I say, for lack of a better term, they get too overexcited because I've watched games hosted in Arab nations. I mean, they've done so well. Look at the clubs, how early the way they have all that support. Even just the national teams, the men's national teams, when they have their games, they have so many supporters that they have there. So I think maybe there was need to sit down with the men, find out how they bring in those supporters to come and support, because it's not good. It's not good for the game. How do you make money? And then how does the women's game demand to have equal amount of money with the men's game? It is impossible. So you need to start working in that direction. Even CAF should sit down and start looking at that direction. Women, we need to sit and start cracking our brains. We're good at this. So we need to find the ways and means of bringing people to the stadium. What's going to bring them to the stadium? Good football, obviously. Make the football good and entertaining, not so predictable, have results that will obviously get your brain. What's being done well, obviously, is a situation where when the host is playing, which is everywhere, regardless of it being the men playing or the women playing, you'll find when the host is playing, the people are there. But why shouldn't people come and watch when the hosts are not there? Then the other thing is, I think distance, the nations that are participating in this competition. So you find the ones that come to support are mostly maybe students based in that country or people who've traveled from other countries. The countries that are participating to come and watch that game usually are very few. Not so many travel for the game. Why? Because maybe financial issues. So you need to start early promoting these things, back in the home countries of those show them the benefits, give them probably good incentives when they come there as fans, if fans can just plan together to get to watch this competition. But most importantly is promotion, and promotions don't start there. Then you start way back, and know how you want to, fill up those stadiums, find ways and means. But it's terrible to look at an empty stadium and you playing. It's as if it's just a training session. Sad to say. And how do you make money? Because football is about making money. How will you make money and justify to have that a double amount of money that you should be able to see? Maybe with viewership, people watching from wherever they are, it's much easier. So I think promotion, having proper promotional strategies, marketing the game, marketing the women's game for what it's good for. I think organizers, CAF, everybody else should be involved, and it should start even from the countries, participating countries and countries that want to qualify to these tournaments. We have the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations coming soon. So whichever country is going to host, please, is a learning curve. Let it be better. Let there be an improvement. Thank you very much. much.
The views of Wezi Mazunda there. Today we were looking at WAFCON that is currently underway in Morocco. The Women's African Cup of Nations WAFCON Morocco 2024 currently underway has been in action with very few fans at the stadiums, indicating the tournament has received less support of football spectators. We were asking what could be the reasons behind this poor attendance by soccer fans in Morocco. We had Mr. Neto Chemane, former Football Association of Zambia spokesman, and the Wezi Mazunda soccer analyst. For Channel Africa Sports, Namchana from Zambia.
You heard something you like on Channel Africa and you would like to hear it again. Worry not, we've got your back. Just go to our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, and look for our podcast.
Zochitika ndimadapiri kamlondola wazochitika pena paliponse.
Nduna wazamalonda kumalawi waletsa kampani yopanga shuga ya Ilovo yomwe ndi nthambi ya Ilovo Sugar Group Limited kuti isiye kutumiza shuga kumaiko akunja. Malingana ndi nduna ya zamalonda Vitumbuko Mumba, izi zithandiza kuti shuga yemwe yakusowa pamsika azipezeka. Ndiye pano ndili ndi George Muhangu amene ali mu mzinda wa Blantyre mu dziko la Malawi. Chimene chikupangitsa kuti shuga azisowa ndi chani?
Chomwe chikupangitsa kuti shuga azisowa ndichonena kuti panopo ili ngati off season ya makampani a Ilovo Sugar Malawi, kunena kuti sakutha kupanga shugayi okwanira chifukwa akukolola. Ndiye akamaliza kukolola pameneno atayambeno sopano kugaya shugayi kuti azipezeka. Chinanso ndichonena kuti ma distributors amene akumakagula shuga kaya ndi ku Ilovo kaya ndi kusalima shuga akumagulisa kumaiko akunja ngati Zambia, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Mozambique.
Zochitika ndimadapiri lolemba mpaka lachisanu pa nthawi ya 7 koloko kufikira 8 koloko madzulo pa Channel Africa.
Africa at Play with Neto and Neto Chemane.
14:25 Central African Time. This is Africa at Play. We are live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time on DSTV Audio Bouquet Channel 802 or OpenView 628 if you are in South Africa. Otherwise, you can connect with us from anywhere you are on channelafrica.co.za. Also available on SABC+. Please do get in touch with us on our different social media platforms. On Instagram and X is at Channel Africa 1, and on Facebook the name of our station, Channel Africa. If you have just joined us, thank you for choosing Africa at Play as Delilicia Shire. A reminder on our topic of the day, the Women's Africa Cup of Nations WAFCON Morocco 2024 currently underway, has been action with very few football fans, and we are asking what could be the reasons for this poor attendance by football spectators at different venues of this Women's Africa Cup of Nations. You can drop us your thoughts via WhatsApp, voice note on the number +27 63 406 9126. We've got some voice notes. Nande Jobodwana started with a text and said, women need to start supporting their own, investing and bringing opportunities to their own game, women's club and all, and followed it up with a voice note, which is the continuation of his thoughts. Let's find out.
Shopranet Nande. And when I say women's club, I'm talking like women need to start an initiative. So if there's a women's running team, then that women's running team should go and watch women's football, women's rugby, and all those initiatives, and look out for when are women playing, and then they gather their own community and start supporting their own games. Start fundraising, start clubs all across the nations, where you literally just have a women's club of soccer. Yabon Eastern Cape branch, PE branch, and all these. So you start these initiatives, and then once it starts moving, then you can start roping in men and children. But for now, it needs to be women taking ownership of all their sports and supporting each other. You know what I mean? You can't just have 1 or 2 soccer members going to watch in netball. It has to be the whole team. You know what I mean? It has to be the whole team, and it also needs to be the substructures provincially, you know what I mean? And once people start seeing numbers in the stadiums, I promise you, men and kids are also going to want to join, because once they start going there, then you want to start taking your family. That's just my 2 cents worth. And when it comes to women's sports, I honestly believe they need to take initiative. They need to grab the bull by the horns themselves, and they need to take the leadership. You know what I mean? They need to be in the forefront of this thing.
14:28 Central African Time. Those are the thoughts of Nande Jabodwana. A good initiative indeed, saying women out there have to come up with initiatives of supporting each other. Even if you play football, you get support from those that are running, and those that are playing cricket getting support from those that are playing rugby, and vice versa. And I think it is a good initiative indeed, and everyone else will follow suit, noticing that it is a terrific initiative. One more voice note from Arnold Rabutulu, a football commentator.
Afternoon, Mr. Chemane, and to your listeners. Talking about the lack of supporters in our 2024 Morocco's WAFCON tournament. Yeah, it's a touching topic. When I look at it, Mr. Chemane, to me, there's a number of reasons why there's a lack of supporters in this year's WAFCON. Number one, obviously, we can point the finger to the CAF as the mother body. What is that they have done in terms of the marketing this event? I think for me, with the challenges that they encounter throughout, it also contributes in terms of having a lack of supporters in this tournament as a whole. Look, we are talking about the tournament that are contested by 11 countries instead of 16 countries. So the mere fact that we have only 3 groups, with one group having only 3 country, it's a challenge on its own. And again, it affects the supporters at the end of the day. Had we have 16 countries who are participating in this year's WAFCON Cup, I think it was going to make a huge difference in terms of the supporters. Also, Mr. Chemane, let's look at the point of hosting this tournament. Yes, I know there's a bid that comes to the picture, but I think CAF is about times where they have to consider the point or the fact of rotating these hosting countries. I'm telling you, if they can consider to take this tournament to SADC.
14:31 Central African Time. Arnold Rabutulu sharing his thoughts on our topic of the day, and killing 2 birds with one stone, also weighing in on yesterday's topic where we were talking about countries that are forever hosting different football events like South Africa, Morocco. Morocco hosted this WAFCON 3 years ago in 2022, and they are hosting the back-to-back edition of it. We also witnessed South Africa hosting the COSAFA Cup on back-to-back occasions. It's been many years in a row, these countries hosting these events, and we were asking, why can't the football mother bodies like CAF and COSAFA consider rotating these tournaments to empower countries that are battling with infrastructure and sport facilities? So good contribution indeed. Football fans, let's remind you of match day 2 of the ongoing Women's Africa Cup of Nations matches that took place from Wednesday, the 9th of July. The Copper Queens beat the Teranga Lionesses by 3-2. 5-goal thriller. DR Congo Central Africans went down to the hosts, the Atlas Lionesses of Morocco, by 4-2. Tunisia and Algeria, the North African derby, ended in a boring 0-0 draw. Botswana went down by a narrow 1-0 win against the Super Falcons, 9-time champions of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. Nigeria, who have triumphed their opening 2 matches and will be playing against Algeria in a dead rubber encounter for them, but it could mean something for the Phoenix of Algeria. Ghana, the Black Queens, played to a 1-1 draw against Mali, and these 2 teams are in the same group as the reigning champions, South Africa's Banyana Banyana. Tanzania the Twiga Stars played to a 1-1 draw against Banyana Banyana, a result that many fans were looking forward to, especially in South Africa. But hey, this is football. There is no minus anymore. Match day 3 kicked off yesterday with the Copper Queens of Zambia beating DR Congo by 1-0, and Zambia is already in the quarterfinals, waiting to find out who are they going to face next. Morocco also beat the Teranga Lionesses by a narrow 1-0 win. It goes to show the standard in women's football has really improved as we get to witness teams being beaten by just a narrow margin. 1-0 in 2 games tells you a story, and there's also a 0-all draw between the North African teams, that is Tunisia and Algeria. Nigeria, the 9-time winners, will be taking on Algeria tonight at 2100 Central African time. Tunisia, the Carthage of Eagles, will line up against Southern African outfit Botswana at 2100 Central African time. The reigning champions South Africa is back in action against Mali tomorrow at 2100 Central African time. The Black Queens of Ghana will also wrap up their Group C matches by playing against the Twiga Stars of Tanzania. It is the battle between the West and the East, and that match is scheduled for tomorrow at 2100 Central African time. Zambia, as I've mentioned, is already through to the quarterfinals, same as the host nation Morocco. I don't see Nigeria's name here, but according to my calculations, they should also be in the quarterfinals list because they've won their opening 2 matches, but it could be because of what the group look like. While we are on it, let's go to the groups and see why is Nigeria not showing in the list of those that have made it to the quarterfinals. We look at Group A, the Atlas Lionesses of Morocco sitting on 7 points, 3 matches, 2 wins and a draw. Zambia, 3 matches, 2 wins and a draw, and both of these nations have qualified with 7 points. Senegal are on 3 points with just 1 win and 2 losses. DR Congo haven't collected any points. It must be disappointing for the Central Africans. In Group B, the 9-time winners, Nigeria, the Super Falcons, have won their opening 2 matches and are sitting on 6 points. And now I can understand that Algeria is on second with 4 points, 1 win, a draw, and no loss as yet. So if Algeria wins their match tonight against the Super Falcons, they will make it to the next round. Tunisia must still play their 3rd and final match, including Botswana, but not much will be achieved there, as Tunisia is only on 1 point after a draw and a loss, and Botswana haven't collected any points. They've played 2 matches and lost both of those matches. South Africa and Mali in Group C still with a chance. South Africa is on 4 points, 2 wins, 1 draw, and they will be playing on Monday against Tanzania, the Twiga Stars. Not Tanzania, rather Mali. They've played to a 1-all draw against Tanzania. And Mali is sitting on 4 points as well, sharing the top spot with South Africa. And they will be playing against the Black Queens of Ghana. It is, if they get a draw between South Africa and Mali, both nations will make it to the next round, because Tanzania, the Twiga Stars, they only collected a single point, same as the Black Queens of Ghana. So even if they win their 3rd and final matches, they will end up on 4 points each, and South Africa and Mali could end up on 5 points each if it ends in a draw. If any of the 2 nations between South Africa and Mali wins, then it will be interesting to see what happens in the last game between the Twiga Stars and the Black Queens of Ghana. That's the update on the ongoing Women's Africa Cup of Nations. The dancing floor is calling us because music is therapy. On a beautiful Sunday afternoon like this one, we've got a double play. Charlotte Tipanda saying Ellen Abasavu, as well as a Bust Down featuring Asake. This is Africa at Play as Delele Siashaya.
The platform, it's an opportunity with 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle. We deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act.
At Play, we are live on DSTV Audio Bouquet, channel 802 or OpenView 628 if you are in South Africa. Alternatively, you can connect with us from anywhere you are on channelafrica.co.za, also available on SABC+. Please do visit our Channel Africa website in case you've missed out on any of our conversations. You click on Programs and search for Africa at Play. At the bottom right screen of Africa at Play, you can click on More to listen to those conversations when you have time to do so. Let's remind you that SABC Sport brings you Chasing the Sun, a powerful 5-part documentary series about the Springboks, telling the rousing tale of their path to redemption and to the ultimate World Cup glory in 2019. Starting on the 13th of July at 19:30 Central African Time on SABC2. Tune in every Sunday for the highs, the heartache, and the heroics that made rugby history. Stream each chapter on SABC+, anytime, anywhere, no subscription needed. Don't miss Chasing the Sun this Sunday at 19:30 Central African Time on SABC2. Be there when history shines. This is Africa at Play, as Delilisia Shire. Let's now welcome Namachana, our correspondent based in Lusaka, Zambia. He must be a happy man now that the Copper Queens are through to the quarterfinals, and we'll find out how is the euphoria in the southern African country called Zambia. The Zambians were not impressed after the first match, where Zambia played to a 1-1 draw against the host nation Morocco, the Atlas Lionesses. A game Zambia was supposed to win, but hey, it wasn't to be. Let's now welcome Chan. In fact, that match ended in a 2-2 draw. I beg your pardon. A late goal that came from Morocco in the last 10 minutes of the game got them the equalizer. So Namachana, good afternoon and welcome to Africa at Play.
Yeah, good afternoon, Neto, and good afternoon to all our listeners. It's always a great pleasure to listen to the velvet voice of African sport.
Thank you so much for joining us. How's the euphoria in Zambia now that the team has won 2 matches in their 3-match groups, and they've also played a draw in their opening match, qualifying with a total of 7 points, equal to the host nation, the Atlas Lionesses of Morocco? There must be some big smiles coming up from Zambia. How's the euphoria?
Yeah, everybody is super excited here. Though, you know how Zambians are, Neto, they always complain, even if the team is doing very well, they'll still give their negatives. And now the story around Lusaka is that why was Everin Susan Katsongo benched in the last 2 games, but yesterday she was introduced in that game against the Democratic Republic of Congo, and she was the marvel to watch in the midfield. She controlled the match. Her passes were superb. So that is the talking point. Everybody is just asking, why was Everin Susan Katsongo benched by Nora Hopto in the first 2 games? So again, instead of everybody rejoicing, the debate now is around the Reverend Susan Katongo, who showed Zambia what she's made of, and truthfully speaking,
this is one of the best players that this country has ever produced. Though some believe that she's a moody player. On a bad day, you won't even see her. You won't even notice that she's in the team. But when she's in that mood to play football, she will do everything for you. She will deliver for you, and that's what she did yesterday. And Neto, you and I have been watching this WAFCON now for the last 10 days or so. And the major problem that Zambia has had, it is in the midfield and a shaky defense. Not talk about the goalkeeper that we have in the name of Ngambo Musole. So I will tell you, Neto, despite this win and despite the fact that Zambia has qualified to the quarterfinals, and the prospects are that we are likely to meet the Super Falcons of Nigeria because they are likely to top Group B. And everybody says, look, Enora has to up our game, or else we might just pack before that time comes. So, people here in Neto are happy, but they're not convinced. And some of them are saying, look, they're not convinced with the tactics of the new coach. So we just wait to see. It's a kind of a mixed feeling. Others are happy, others they are giving their views on what is supposed to be done, who shouldn't play, who should play where. Yeah, so it's a tricky situation here. Yeah, Zambians are happy, but it's like most of them. I spoke to some of them today. They are saying, look, we are happy we've qualified, but we are not happy with the midfield. Our defense is shaky. There is need to change the goalkeeper against Nigeria. So we just wait to see what will happen in the next game. Though Nora herself, last night, after beating the Democratic Republic of Congo, she came out guns blazing. She was saying, look, we don't care, we don't mind whichever team we are going to meet in the quarterfinals. We are going to give them a tough time and will qualify to the semifinals. She's super confident, and she feels that the Copper Queens will qualify to the semis, whether they meet Nigeria or they meet another team.
If you have just joined us, we are talking to Namuchana, our Lusaka-based correspondent from Zambia. So Namuchana, when the team makes it to the knockout stages, you start hearing about the cash on the table. How are the dollars looking like for the technical team and the entire Copper Queens team?
Yeah, the reports that we have received, though we haven't confirmed them yet, but we've been told that the Football Association of Zambia, they have paid around 40,000 United States dollars to Nora Hoptu, and her assistants have been paid, and we have been told also that the Zambia national soccer team coach, Avram Grant, he has also received his $50,000 part of his overdue salary from the previous month. So we are yet to confirm this, but this is what is trending here. And the Football Association of Zambia are saying they are hoping that Nora Hoptu, who had written the World Soccer Governing Board complaining about the delay to pay her the Zambian mother, the Football Association of Zambia, Neto, are hoping that Nora this time around, after she's been paid, she will withdraw that case from FIFA. But we were not told that Nora had written the World Soccer Governing Board complaining about non-payment of her salary. So it is a kind of a situation that I can say it is merry-go-round, and we don't know who is telling the truth. But for now, this is what is there. We have been told that $40,000 was given to her actually yesterday And the Zambia national soccer team head coach, Avram Grant, he also received these $50,000. But we are yet to confirm. And the powers be, this is what they have told the nation. But we haven't been told whether the Copper Queens players have also received their dues, because in the past we had those reports where some of the players were complaining that they are owed a lot of money by the Football Association of Zambia, just like the Zambia national soccer team players who complained last time to say they were not interested to play for the Zambia national soccer team until the Football Association of Zambia pays them. So it's a situation of just wait and see, and until maybe Nora comes back from a WAFCON, that is when we are going to get the truth. Maybe as journalists, that is when we are going to have a one-on-one conversation with her to find out whether it is true she's received 40,000 United States dollars from the Football Association of Zambia.
14:54 Central African Time. That's the voice of Namuchana, our correspondent based in Lusaka, Zambia. So Namuchana, please do stay on the line. We take a short break. We will wrap up our conversation with Namuchana after this short break. Africa at Play, as Teleli Siashai.
Your favorite songs, your favorite stories on your favorite station. This is Channel Africa. Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine. Weekdays, 6 till 9.
In recent weeks, East Africa has seen a disturbing rise in human rights violations. In Kenya, digital activist Rose Njeri was arrested under the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act after creating a tool for citizens to oppose Finance Bill 2025. Meanwhile, in Tanzania, Kenyan activist Boniface Mwangi and Ugandan lawyer Agatha Atuhaire reported being detained, tortured, and sexually assaulted by security officers.
East Africa needs a reset. We need to get back East Africa to where the founding fathers are. When President Nyerere and his colleagues Jomo Kenyatta and the Ugandan counterparts fought for independence, they fought for independence to get Africans out of poverty, to get Africans out of slavery. The leaders who took up power have since gotten into regression.
Neto Agostino, co-leader of the United Green Movement Party.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine. Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege.
So when you think of African music, you think of Kwasa Kwasa, high life music from West Africa, Afrobeat from West Africa, of gospel music or faith music or spiritual music. But when we think of reggae music, we go to the Caribbean, and if it's Africa, we only think about Lucky Dube. Well, I'm here to introduce you to some reggae music from Africa. Salif Keita with Dakan Fair from Mali, and I must say this one was a real shock for me because I never had imagined Salif Keita on a reggae beat, but listening to him, it just proved to me how versatile he is as an artist, because you'd be expecting him to be on that vibe of West Africa, of ballads, but he really proved that he is very versatile, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege. Africa at Play with Neto and Neto Chemane.
It is 14:57 Central African Time. You're still listening and tuned in to Africa at Play. We are talking to Namuchana, our correspondent from Lusaka, Zambia. If you have just joined us, a warm welcome to Africa at Play. So, Namuchana, let's talk about the topic of the day. You got to speak to the football pundits about disappointing attendance by fans in Morocco at the ongoing Women's Africa Cup of Nations. What are your personal thoughts on possible reasons why the stands are so empty as we get to witness them during the matches?
Yeah, Neto, I suspect that maybe it could be the pricing, maybe the tickets are so expensive, or maybe the Moroccans themselves are not interested in women football. But we have watched them whenever Morocco is playing. They will fill up the stadiums. But why should they stay away when the other teams are playing? I've got a feeling that teams or countries make money whenever soccer fans troop to the stadiums, because when soccer fans enter the stadium, there is a charge, they pay, and that money goes to help the football association or indeed the team itself if it is a club. So I've just sought to understand why the Moroccans are failing to go and watch other teams play, because it shouldn't be that way, whereby you only go to the stadium when your team is playing, but when other teams are playing, you don't even go. I was so disappointed, Neto. I can't remember the game that I was watching just recently. You could even count the soccer fans that were inside the stadium. Maybe about 8 or 10 or so. It is very disappointing. When you've been given that chance to host, you have to make sure that you go out, you market the tournament, you tell your citizens the importance of going to the stadiums, because a tournament becomes boring, Neto, if stadiums become empty, okay? Because at the end of the day, they will just look as if they're just training matches. But this is a serious tournament, and this should be a wake-up call to the Confederations of African Football, CAF, that maybe the next time around, let them give, or maybe let them give the hosting rights to countries that really love football, okay? Because we cannot have a situation where a country has been granted the rights to host a tournament of such magnitude, but the citizens, they have no interest whatsoever to go and watch. And Morocco, it is one country that has invested a lot into football, Neto, whether it is women's football or men's football. And for them now to disappoint the world in such a manner, I feel it is extremely unfair, and the principles of the game in Morocco on this one, they have disappointed Africa. They haven't done a good job. And I'll tell you, Neto, there was a time that Zambia was playing a certain country at the Levi Mwanawasa Stadium, and of course, these were the Copper Queens. I remember, in order to attract the numbers to the Levi Mwanawasa Stadium, the Football Association of Zambia, they announced, they said, look, actually, nobody is going to pay. And we saw Levi Mwanawasa getting filled up to capacity. So at times, just to have the numbers, if the tickets are so expensive, in Morocco, it is a rich country. I think they can even allow soccer fans to go and watch these games free of charge. But to have empty stadiums like that, it isn't good for African game. It portrays a very bad picture about African football.
Namuchana is our correspondent from Lusaka, Zambia. So Namuchana, before I say goodbye, quick one. The Africa Under-18, Under-20 Athletics Championships will be taking place in Nigeria at the capital of Ogun State in Abeokuta, where over 40 African countries have confirmed their participation, kicking off on the 16th and concluding on the 20th of July. Is there a representation from Team Zambia?
No. We haven't been told by the Zambia Amateur Athletics Association that they are going to send Zambian athletes to Nigeria. But what I remember vividly is that earlier this year, they came out in the open. They said Zambia won't participate in most of these international tournaments. They said very few athletes will go and compete. So the only one who is a bit active now, it is the 400 meters run, and this is Muzala Samukonga. And last week he was in Oregon, United States, where he came fifth. He didn't do a good job there. So I don't think that we are going to send athletes to Nigeria. Of course, these are under-20s, because the Zambia Amateur Athletics, they told us earlier this year to say, as a country, we are not going to participate in all these major tournaments, and they never gave us reasons why, as a country, we are not going to participate in all these major tournaments. So we just wait to see. Maybe the situation will change, but I don't think so. I haven't heard anything in that regard that as a country we are going to send athletes to Nigeria.
Namachana, our correspondent based in Lusaka, Zambia. So Namachana, thank you for talking to us on Africa at Play. You've got the permission to go for throat gymnastics. Have a great afternoon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Neto, for having me. It is my prayer that the $200,000 that the Football Association of Zambia has received from the Confederations of African Football, CAF, for the Copper Queens storming into the quarterfinals will be put to good use.
That was Namachana, our correspondent based in Southern Africa in Lusaka, Zambia, updating us on the latest in Zambian sport. 15:04 Central African Time. The Rotax Max African Open took place at Zwartkops this week near Centurion in South Africa's Gauteng province, where Mohamed Mowali won the Rotax Senior by 1.256 seconds ahead of a fight between Kent Swartz and Charles Fisa, settled by 0.2 seconds. Caleb Odendale beat Matau Mason by 0.085 seconds in the Rotax Junior. And we've got the go-karting champion, Mohamed Mowali, joining us on Africa at Play. Mohamed, good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Afternoon, how are you?
I'm doing good. Congratulations on your big victory. What does this victory of winning the African Open mean for Mohamed Mowali?
Thanks so much. Yeah, so it was a really interesting and amazing race. The past 2 years, actually, I've been leading the race, the African Open. And on the last lap, I caught back markers and they blocked me on the last lap, causing me to lose the race. So this year, we were in the lead, came the second last lap, and then I saw one back marker, but at least he went into the pits. So I was going through my mind, the last 2 years I've been leading, and all of a sudden the black marker blocks me and then I don't win. So yeah, this year, thank God, everything worked out and went to plan. Yeah, it's amazing.
What are you planning in terms of the future in making certain that you maintain that top spot? Because while you are busy trying to stay on the summit, there are also those go-karting potentials that also want the same top spot. So not to allow complacency, what are the plans of Mohamed Mowali in making certain that you stay on the summit?
Yeah, so it's not easy. There's always the obstacles that come in your way and you just have to get past them. But yeah, the last 2 years haven't been as to plan, but at least this year, thank God, everything worked out. And with myself winning the African Open this year, I won a ticket to the grand finals, which is one of the biggest races in the world. It's going to be held in Bahrain towards the end of this year. And I've raced in Bahrain the past, there's almost 3 seasons in Bahrain, so it's like almost my hometown, I've raced there, I know everyone there, I know the track, so I have quite a big advantage there and going to be coming to the World Finals soon. So, God willingly, everything works out there at the World Finals also there in Bahrain.
It is a big achievement indeed and an international stage. Having been to Bahrain before, and like you've said, it's almost like your second home. You are used to the track and you are confident whenever you are there. How was your first experience when you went to Bahrain, and what are you hoping to achieve this time around as you are going back later in the year for the World Championships?
So 4 years ago, the World Finals was also held in Bahrain. I was sitting, I think, P3 in the pre-final before the final, and someone flipped me. So yeah, we were at pace there that year also. So I raced 2 seasons after that in Bahrain. I won one of the championships there in Bahrain also, so I'm a Bahraini champion, thank God. So yeah, we have to try this year. We're going to try, go for gold, inshallah. But it's going to be tough. The rest of the world will be there. But yeah, we just have to keep our heads focused and everything will work out, inshallah.
Do you get to learn from other go-karting drivers, or you're just confident in staying in your own lane and concentrating on what you know?
I think you can always learn from others. Others also have, we all have some weak point that we can improve on. So I think going up against the best in the world, you always learn something. No matter how good you are, I think you can always learn something from someone. So I think, there's always stuff we can improve on, definitely.
Are you happy with your journey as a go-karting champion, as a go-karting driver, how things are unfolding moving forward with your big plan being to race in the Formula One day? A big dream indeed, but very possible.
Yeah, it's a big dream. It's quite difficult to get there, but I think we're on the path, inshallah, and one day.
Have you been observing the elite league of motorsport, Formula One? What have you witnessed out there that has interested you to keep going and making certain that you do not allow complacency to kick in?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest stage in the world is Formula One, right? So I've been observing it recently, all the races, the different teams, and everything that goes with it. There is a bit of politics there also, but I just saw now that Christian Horner from Red Bull, he resigned, so it's a big headline. But I think definitely been observing that stage of the world.
15:09 Central African Time. We are talking to our teenager in sport, a go-karting champion, that is Mohamed Mowali, who recently won the Africa Open and is doing wonders out there on the racetrack. He will be going to Bahrain later in the year for the World Finals. Mohamed, please do stay on the line. We take a short break. When we come back, our teenager in sport, a conversation continues with the go-karting African champion, Mohamed Mowali. This is Africa at Play.
Broadcasting in 5 different languages, connecting the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective. Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese, and Kiswahili? Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa? In that case, we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa. Send us your CV and demo at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected. Channel Africa, the African perspective. What are the teenagers up to if they are not in class? Let's get in touch with the teenager in sport.
15:10 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play. We are talking to Mohamed Mowali, a go-karting African champion who recently won the African Open that took place at the Zwartkops racecourse near Centurion towards Pretoria West. Areas like Atteridgeville is the closest from there, and many other areas heading also to the country's capital city, Pretoria. It is under the Gauteng province. More just for the benefit of our listeners, especially those that might still not be knowing about you. Let's trace back your journey as a go-karting driver. Where did it all begin? How did you get involved in motorsport?
So it all began at a really young age at 4.5. Since then, almost like 12 years now, I've been involved in motorsport. So at the time, I always loved, I would watch Formula One on TV, and I would always love, speed and, the cars going around the track. And from then, I've had a love for motorsport. I got involved at around 4.5. And thank God I've won 5 SA championships, a Bahraini championship, and now after I won this recent Africa karting championship, it's five times now.
What should happen more for you to win the World Finals in Bahrain?
Yeah, I think a lot of hard work, a bit of luck, and late nights. I think asking. Yes, I don't even know, to be honest. It's going to be difficult.
Educate our listeners a little bit on your team, because it's not just about Mohamed Mowali, the go-karting African champion, but there's a team that makes things possible. Those that are on board in case there's a tire issue, that will be on board to assist you to replace the tire rapidly. Yes. And everyone else who's playing an important role behind the scenes. Who are we talking about? What role are they playing?
Yeah, so the mechanic obviously is crucial. The whole family structure, support structure behind me also crucial, but I think the mechanic does play a really big role in the whole picture. If one bolt comes off the cart, you don't finish the race. So it's a big thing for the mechanic to make sure everything is proper, and a proper thorough mechanic is really important.
Except for Team Mohamed Mowali, who else is giving you support for your journey in motorsport to become a success? Because motorsport is labeled as not a cheap sporting coat, but an expensive one. But with commitment and support from different stakeholders, everything or anything is possible.
Yes, so obviously my dad is a big role behind everything, and BP South Africa is also behind me. So yeah, I think it's definitely, as you say, not a cheap sport, but I think with the hard work and dedication, I think we can reach goals.
15:13 Central African Time. If you have just joined us, a warm welcome to Africa at Play. We are in the middle of our Teenager in Sport conversation with our teenage sensation and African go-karting champion, Mohamed Mowali, who will be going to Bahrain for the World Finals later in the year. He's been there before. He's won on that ground. He's won in South Africa, the SA Nationals on 5 occasions. He's won the Africa Open and is now the reigning champion, and is looking forward to exciting more motorsport events internationally. Except for the Bahrain World Finals, Mo, what else is on the calendar of Mohamed Mowali?
Nothing much, to be honest. I think that's the big race towards the end of this year. I'm also doing South Africa touring cars now, so that's a proper racing car. My first season in main circuit racing. So yeah, I've got quite a few races coming up. That's locally here in South Africa, but internationally, my main one for this year is going to be the World Finals in Bahrain towards the end of the year.
Is there any go-karting driver around the world that gives you a bit of sleepless nights that you want to do better than?
Not really. I think everyone's got talent in some way. I think there's always going to be different people that will pitch up and be fast, be a competition. But yeah, there's always different names that come up. So there's not one specific man I would think of.
If you have just joined us, we are talking to Mohamed Mowali, a go-karting African champion. He's done it in South Africa and triumphed on numerous occasions. He's been to Bahrain and triumphed there. He's going back later to Bahrain for the World Finals and is looking forward to the big dream, which is being a Formula One driver one day. Mo, what are your thoughts on the Minister of Sport, Minister Gayton McKenzie's stunt of bringing the Formula One back to South Africa in 2027? And if it happens, what do you think it will be the role of Mohamed Mowali?
I think it'll be a great thing for South Africa if Formula One can come to Africa. There hasn't been a Grand Prix in Africa in I think almost like 30, 40 years now. So it'll be a really big thing. I'm not sure on how the likes of it happening is how great it's going to be, but I think if the people and the government gets involved and everyone pushes for it, I think, yeah, it can definitely happen, and it will definitely be good for South Africa's economy. And as a whole, the whole of South Africa will what's the word for this? Like, will get good from it, basically.
15:16 Central African Time. We are talking to the go-karting African champion who's recently won the Africa Open at the Zwartkops Raceway. That is Mohamed Mowali of South Africa. Mo, talk to us more about the future in terms of this year 2025. Not a lot is lined up, but you are looking forward to the World Finals in Bahrain. What have you zoomed into for 2026, or you don't plan that far?
Okay, so obviously we have a plan for 2026. So this year, as I said, is my rookie season in South African touring cars, which is a proper racing car. So this year is basically just learning, getting used to it. And then next year, I'm obviously going to try win the SA Championship in South African touring cars. So I think that's going to be the plan for next year, to step up to main circuit, like properly. This year, I'm definitely getting used to the car. I finished P3 in PE a few weeks ago, my second ever race in cars. So I think we're getting there, definitely.
There's politics in different sporting codes. Are there politics in motorsport that could be a disturbing factor or sometimes even an obstacle in terms of what you want to achieve, but you find a scenario where these politics are just too much?
Obviously, I think in every sport there's politics. Motorsport, the politics are quite on a big scale, I would say. But I think that's everywhere. There's politics everywhere, and motorsport politics is definitely a big key in motorsport. But I wouldn't go too much into the negative side of it.
What keeps you going?
Yeah, I think hard work, determination, praying, sleeping late at night, praying, hoping for the best the next day, a night before race day, and I would say faith keeps me going, to be honest.
What would you like to say to young Africans listening or viewing this conversation that are interested to get into the go-karting space, but they have no idea where to start?
I would say it's a really great opportunity to get involved in motorsport. It's a great sport, but definitely I think for anyone that thinks they can't do it, with hard work and determination, I think any goal will become a reality. So just keep pushing, keep your head focused, and I think anything can be possible.
When last did you speak to your coach? Who is your coach, and what did you talk about?
Just last I spoke to him was last weekend at the African Open. Yeah, so it's been about a week now, but yeah.
And what's his name?
His name's Wesley.
How is it working with Sir Wesley?
Definitely great. He's a 4-time world champion on himself, so he pushes us past our limits, I would say. So yeah, it's definitely great working with him, and we learn from him.
That's how we wrap up our conversation with the teenage sensation in motorsport, Mohamed Mowali, who is the reigning champion of go-karting in Africa after recently winning the Africa Open that took place near Centurion at the Zwartkops Raceway. Mohamed, thank you so much for talking to us on Africa at Play. Before I let you go, your parting shot, what would you like to say to Africa at Play listeners?
So I would say for all the youth out there, with hard work and determination, definitely any dream can become a reality. Yeah.
15:20 Central African Time. Thank you to the go-karting African champion Mohamed Mowali for talking to us in our Teenager in Sport conversation about his journey as a go-karting driver who has won the South African National Championships on numerous occasions. He's been to Bahrain. He's going back there for the World Finals after being crowned the Africa Open champion. All the best to Mohamed Mowali. Let's remind you that SABC Sport brings you Chasing the Sun, a powerful 5-part documentary series about the Springboks, telling the rousing tale of their path to redemption and the ultimate World Cup glory in 2019, starting on the 13th of July at 19:30 Central African Time on SABC2. Tune in every Sunday for the highs, the heartache, and the heroics that made rugby history. Stream each chapter on SABC Plus, anytime, anywhere. No subscription needed. Don't miss Chasing the Sun this Sunday at 19:30 Central African Time on SABC2. Be there when history shines. We will be there. We're taking a short break.
No fairy tales, just the facts and the music you love on Channel Africa. What are the teenagers up to if they are not in class? Let's get in touch with the Teenager in Sport. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act.
Titled Nanan. We will be talking to Spencer Tawanda Banda, who is a sport broadcaster from our neighboring country in southern Africa, Zimbabwe, to talk about the topic of the day, but also to visit the state of women's football in Zimbabwe, as Zimbabwe is not represented in the ongoing Women's Africa Cup of Nations. And we know that when we speak football in southern Africa, even historically, Zimbabwe has always been one of the superpowers powers, even in the early 90s during the days of Peter Ndlovu, who used to play for Coventry at the time. The likes of Adam Ndlovu, Madinda Ndlovu. It was the Ndlovu brothers in that Warriors squad that were given the likes of Iwi Kambule, former Mamelodi Sundowns defender, who was very well known of powerful throw-ins that could just go from the throw-in line straight to someone's head for a goal. Iwi Kambule. Iwi, that's how he would be praised. So we're looking forward to that conversation with Spencer Tawanda Banda. Tonight is the big match for football fans across the world, where we will be witnessing PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, who will be taking on Chelsea, the Blues. And a lot of people are putting their money on PSG, especially after their match, the one-way traffic match in the semi-finals, where they beat Real Madrid, who have won this FIFA Club World Cup on numerous occasions, beating them by 4-0, and everyone started singing the praises of PSG. And I was saying to Andy Mali earlier that this is football. The Blues could just come on board and come to a relevant party and spoil it for PSG. But I'm not taking sides. I remain impartial. May the best team win. So that match, it is at 2100 Central African time. It is Chelsea up against PSG. So you can look forward to that exciting match of the FIFA Club World Cup. Unfortunately, African teams couldn't make it to the next round in the expanded Club World Cup. They only got shown the exit door in the group stages. So we've seen the likes of Mamelodi Sundowns, Al Ahly of Egypt, Esperance de Tunis, and Wydad Athletic Club, showing what Africa is made up of. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be. Lessons taken, perhaps it is the difference in the level of experience between Africa and the rest of the world. But no doubt that the continent is blessed with a great talent, and we get to see it in different top leagues, in the Premier League, in the La Liga, in the Bundesliga, and many other leagues out there. Let's now welcome Spencer Tawanda Banda, a sports broadcaster from Zimbabwe. Spencer, good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Great, many thanks. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Channel Africa. And look, it's been quite some time, but I'm so happy to be back on the show. Good afternoon, Africa.
Good afternoon. They say there's always a next time. As you said, that it's been a while. This is the next time we've been waiting for. Thank you so much for joining us. What have you seen on the ground? We've witnessed as the Africa at Play team that matches in Morocco are taking place in almost empty stadiums and not so much support from the football fans. What could be the reasons leading to this poor attendance?
Well, we have to be probably a little careful as we do our analysis on the fans that are coming through to the stadiums for the WAFCON 2025 event, because look, we are getting to use the stadiums which are traditionally being used by the men for their big matches. So look, with the number of women football fans vis-a-vis, you're comparing with the huge stadiums that have been built there, obviously it's bound to be a bias towards looking at it like fans are fewer that are going to the stadiums. But I would tend to probably disagree with that and say that, look, I really think this has been a good start, and the number of fans that are actually going to these games are impressive in a way. Maybe okay, it's okay to impress it, because traditionally we haven't been seeing a lot of females having an interest in the game of football. And it's only in the last 5 or so years that the Morocco Football Federation has been on an upward trend, getting to push everyone to recognize football, women's football in particular. So the massive investment that has been done by the Royal Morocco Football Federation has to be very commended. And you can be able to see, yes, maybe physically in terms of numbers, it's not going to be able to match what has taken place in other countries. But if you look at the environment and the setup in Morocco, it's being a predominantly Arab nation, it's really been impressive, because the vibe as well, if you look at the vibe, it's actually matching the